Hi everyone, this is today's lesson for our new unit through CommonLit. Our essential question that we're going to be focusing on for this unit is how can we achieve happiness? So be thinking about that while we are going through today's article. The article that we're going to read is High Incomes Don't Bring You Happiness. The age-old saying is all about, can money buy happiness? Does money buy happiness? And people are on both sides of this argument. So we're going to look at this article today because it breaks this topic down in a unique way. People often have conflicting ideas about whether or not money can buy happiness. Some believe that the lifestyle that money can offer is equivalent to happiness, while others fear that money can lead to greediness that can never be satisfied. In this study, psychologist Daniel Kahneman and economist Angus Deaton seek the answer to this question. You're not going to be taking any notes while you are listening to this article, but I would like you to think about how would you define happiness? How much money do you think it would take to make you happy? Would an extra $10,000 a year do it? Or would it take an extra $100,000 salary bump to improve your mood? A new study from Princeton economist Angus Deaton and psychologist Daniel Kahneman suggests that number depends on how you define happiness. The authors draw a distinction between emotional well-being, the quality of a person's everyday experience, such as joy, fascination, anxiety, sadness, anger, and affection, and life evaluation, a person's thoughts about his or her life on a longer time scale. I want to pause here for a moment and really think about this definition of happiness. So we have the first part, emotional well-being, quality of a person's everyday experience, but then we also have, I'll highlight in a different color, life evaluation, a person's thoughts about his or her life. So what this author is saying is that there are two things needed to create happiness. How you feel, your emotional well-being, but then also how you're looking at your life, your thoughts and feelings about where your life is going, where your life is currently. Both of those things are needed to define happiness. Their study of data from Gallup Healthways Well-Being Index found that while life evaluations rise steadily with income, emotional well-being drops off at about $75,000 a year. Beyond $75,000, money is important for life evaluation, but does nothing for happiness, enjoyment, sadness, or stress. Both factors are important. It is good to have high emotional well-being, but it is also good to think your life is going well. So here's the question that, everyone's asking. Does money buy happiness? And here's the answer according to this study. Beyond that 75, let me get a highlighter. There we go. Beyond $75,000, money is important for life evaluation, but does nothing for happiness, enjoyment, sadness, or stress. So essentially it's saying, yes, money can buy happiness, but to a point. And after a point, it does nothing to raise or lower our happiness. Kind of interesting. According to the most recent census data, the median U.S. household income was $52,000 in 2008, with about a third of households making above $75,000. So essentially what this last piece is saying is that on average, households, 60 or so, 60 plus, are making less than that kind of threshold of happiness in comparison to that monetary value, where a third of households are making above that. So this is an interesting look into how money plays into our happiness. Now again, this is according to this article. What I'm going to have you do next is we'll go back to my Canvas page, and I want to talk briefly about how this relates to our theme of happiness. We're going to answer this question each time we're introduced to a new article. It's important to enjoy your life and to think that your life is going well, but money doesn't influence happiness after a person makes $75K. So that is how this specific article relates to that theme of happiness. Now, how does this article relate to the essential question? How can we achieve happiness? So here's what we could take away from this article. We can achieve happiness by finding joy and fascination in our everyday lives, not by making lots more money. because according to this article, at some point, that amount of money no longer matters in relation to our happiness. Interesting things. Now, you might totally disagree with this. That is completely fine. If you're like, nope, even if I was making millions every year, that would make me happy, or that wouldn't make me happy. You might be on both sides of this, but this is just according to this one article. Now what we're going to do is a quick reading check. You'll tap on number 5. You'll launch the external tool. I highly recommend rereading this article very quickly, because it's super short. It's only 5 paragraphs long, but each paragraph is only 2 or more sentences. It's very short. Definitely look back on that while you are answering these questions. Now, I hope you've made it to this portion of the video because I'm going to give you some answers, at least to number 1 and to number 2. Check this out. Part A. What statement best identifies the central idea of the article? Now remember, the central idea is kind of the main idea. What is this article mostly saying? What is the most important part of this article? Emotional well-being is solely dependent on wealth. Money plays only a very minor role in people's overall health. And money is able to influence people's happiness to an extent. That last one on there, it might be shuffled on yours, but that is the answer, because this article was saying that money can influence your happiness, but only to a certain extent. That's the main point of this article. Now we have to back it up with some textual evidence, so let's look at number 2. Which detail from the article best supports the answer to part A from question 1? Here are your options. Beyond $75,000, money is important for life evaluation, but does nothing for happiness. It is good to have high emotional well-being, but it is also good to think your life is going well. And the median U.S. household income was $52,000 in 2008, with about a third of households making above $75,000. Now the answer to part B is beyond $75,000, money is important for life evaluation, but does nothing for happiness. Remember, in part A, we discussed how money does influence your happiness to an extent, which is supported by this quote because it's saying that beyond this amount, yeah, your life evaluation, how you're looking at your life may be impacted, but happiness is not going to be affected. It is now your job to answer number 3 and 4 on your own. I'm not going to scroll down or else I'll give away more answers. You do have 2 attempts at this quiz. So what I suggest is obviously marking number 1 and number 2 with the correct answers that I've just told you, and then doing your best to answer 3 and 4. Once you hit submit, it'll give you your score. If you get anything less than a 4 out of 4, try it again. I definitely recommend rereading the article before you attempt number 3 and 4, and then definitely if you need to go back and answer any questions after your first attempt. You only get 2, so make them count. Once you are done with all of that, you can close out of my Canvas page for today. And please make sure that you select an independent reading book by Monday, 8/24. I have some options listed on my Canvas page here at the bottom of ways you can get books, and we'll be discussing those on Monday. Have a fabulous weekend.